Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, we take stock of the stage and the screen in Barrie with the start of the Barrie Film Festival, and Jake Epstein, whom you may remember from Degrassi, The Next Generation, Suits, and more, is bringing a play to Barrie, something we can all relate to, and Barrie police are hoping that as the seasons change, so do our driving habits. But first, it is Library Month across Canada. The Barrie Public Library hoping its members will share the library love with their family and friends. Barrie 360's Will Konken turned some pages with Library CEO Lauren Jessop.
Give me a breakdown of what the Share the Library Love contest is.
Yeah, for sure. So members can come into any one of our 3 locations. They can pick up a flyer. There's 3 tear-off cards on the flyer. And basically what you do is you write your information on the back of each of the cards, and then you hand those out to your friends and families and neighbor, and they bring the cards back in. And when they bring in the card, then it goes into the draw box. So it's really just sort of one of those share the love sort of things. And we're hoping that people tell their friends and neighbors how great the library is and use this opportunity to pass that along. I mean, I think the public library is one of those things that really does well from our champions, right? So people who love using the library, they will tell their friends, and this is just an opportunity to remind them to do that. The prizes that are in the mix for this are really great. So we've got a Chromebook, we've got an Amazon gift card, and we've got some BPL swag bags so you can rock your library swag. And it's just, we've also got the My Own Library card. So
okay.
It's just for kids, but we've got a lot of adults who are getting in on it too. So they're these new library cards that are meant for kids with a really cute design on them. And there's a whole deal where you come in and you get your first library card and you take a picture. We've got a little photo booth kind of thing, and people are getting really excited about doing that as well. So if you don't have a library card yet, or you do, or you need to renew, this is a great opportunity to come in and just to share the library love.
Yeah, how did it all come to be? Who came up with the idea, or were you all just like, hey, let's just get outreach going with it?
Yeah, so all year we've really been encouraging library memberships. So we've got other campaigns that are running with our staff, doing outreach and asking people to sign up for library cards. And this was just one of those great marketing initiatives that they came up with. And it's kind of like, you get the HelloFresh box and, you pass that along to your friends. It's kind of like that same idea, only this is free.
There you go.
Yeah.
We were just mentioning off air that it's around 10,000 new members have joined up. Maybe touch on that. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. We're just this week, I think we hit 10,022 or something like that. And I'm sure since that number, we've got even more. So we did set a bit of a target as a management team for our staff to hit that 10,000 new member mark. And it's just, you get that little bit of encouragement to say, hey, do you have a library card? Does your daughter, does your son, that sort of thing. And it's only October. So the staff are really excited. They've hit their target. And I know that they're just going to surpass that by the time we get to the end of the year. I think outreach has really been a big factor in that increase in memberships, but also just getting the word out there. The library can often be one of those places where people come because they're used to it. And we may be missing a whole segment of people who just don't know what we have to offer, or they came as a kid and they don't realize that the library is so different now than it was from when they were a kid. They don't realize how much we have that could benefit them.
Yeah, you were saying before last time we talked, they have fishing rods. There's so much to offer other than just books.
Yeah, absolutely. So our Library of Things has gotten to be really popular. We're adding more things all the time. So, we've got telescopes, we've got kits for people who are experiencing dementia. We've got all kinds of games. There's tennis rackets and pickleball rackets and all this stuff. Musical instruments that people can borrow. So it isn't just about the books and DVDs and that sort of thing anymore. And that sort of stuff is bringing more people in who may not have come in a while.
Yeah, definitely. It really seems like a community base.
So there is a new report that just came out from the Canadian Urban Institute and the Canadian Urban Libraries Council.
Okay.
It's called Overdue. So it's a little bit of an advocacy report and just sort of one of those, a call to action.
Okay.
So basically saying, libraries, they're funded provincially, but the largest portion of our funding comes from the municipal government, and it's just not sustainable anymore, right? So we're drawing our funding from the tax base. And the tax base is basically at its max. It's at its limit. And so this report is really interesting because it shows this is a scenario that will happen if libraries are under-supported, and this is what will happen if libraries are supported the way that they should be and by all levels of government. So the report calls on higher levels of government as well to recognize that libraries are a piece of critical infrastructure and that libraries are crucial to community resilience and the economy and just like basically pushing all of that. And so the report just came out on the 4th. And so we're all really interested to see where this goes. So there's letter writing that's going on to our MPs and MPPs, as well as the Canadian Urban Institute is really pushing the report through their channels. I'm sure you've probably watched their stuff. They've got lots of great content about city building and all of that kind of stuff. So during Canadian Library Month is a great time for this report to come out because it is just really highlighting what Canadian Library Month is all about, which is making sure that people know about their public library and the crucial piece of infrastructure that it is in the social and cultural fabric of a community.
So how long do people have to refer others in the contest?
So we're doing the draws the week of November 13th. So get them in the month of October, and then you can see if you've won the prizes.
Awesome. And then where can people find more info about the contest? Where do they go to?
Yeah, so you can visit our website. So you can go to barrielibrary.ca, and this is also all over our social media channels. So you can take a look and read more about sharing the library love.
Long weekend behind us, a busy weekend for police in the city and for the OPP as well on provincial highways. Operation Impact, as they were trying to impress upon drivers that safety is of utmost concern. Peter Leon has joined us from Barrie Police. Last week, you put out a message early on saying the seasons have changed. It's going to be raining. There's going to be leaves on the ground. The roads are going to be slippery. Please be careful. But your service was busy on the weekend with collisions.
It was steady. Certainly, the weather conditions as of Sunday changed very, very quickly overnight with the rain. Roads were slippery in places. There was ponding and pooling as a result of just the leaves on the ground being carried down and blocking the sewer grates. These are things that people need to be aware of at this time of year. And we know this past weekend, just to the north of us, there was that white stuff falling and accumulating, not in huge quantities, but we know that when it comes, it's going to come fast and furious. So now's the time to start planning ahead, getting yourself ready and your vehicle ready for what winter brings us.
Add to this past weekend, a holiday weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, a lot of people rushing around in all of that rain and wind on Saturday and Sunday in particular, getting all the things they needed for their holiday feast and not paying a lot of attention maybe to what they should have been paying attention to.
I think people have forgotten in the busyness of the world and their lives as we know it. And Dan, you couldn't have said it any better. It's the simple things. Our vehicles do a lot for us when we get behind the wheel and literally push that button and off we go. They let us know in the mirror when there's a vehicle approaching. They let you know when you're exiting the lane that you're in or drifting out. And all these corrective measures are in place. But we have to get back to the simple courtesies of safe driving. Shoulder checking your mirrors, putting on your signal. People are in a rush to get somewhere and they're driving down the middle of the road. There's no respect out there for the Highway Traffic Act and safe operation. People need to remember, operating a motor vehicle here in the province of Ontario, it's a privilege. It's not a right, and it's a privilege that can be taken away.
One of the things that I remember from driving school all those years ago, you mentioned a few of them, the one big one I always remembered was getting the big picture, looking way down the road, not at just over top of the front of your car, but down the road and gauging what's happening, gauging a stale light, gauging people slowing down or changing lanes. And I don't think people are doing that. They're all in this, I got to get there now, I got to get there as quickly as I can, damn everybody else.
Well, I think people are distracted. And it's not because of devices. We know that they are still using devices. We certainly see that when we're out driving, taking care of our own business. But people are distracted by everything else that's happening around them. The beautiful colors in the trees get your attention. You see somebody off to the side taking a picture, your attention's drawn there. If you're traveling out inside the city, it could be an animal that you're not used to seeing, a deer on the side of the road. It's about scanning, looking, as you said, down the road, getting that proper eye lead is the term that I think they use in driver training. I remember my days in police college, getting that big picture and being able to predict that, that vehicle that you see sitting on the side of the road waiting to enter from a side road may just all of a sudden think they've got the time to do it. And guess what? You're the vehicle that they're going to cut off in front of. So again, it's about covering the brake. It's about reducing speed and driving at the posted speed limit anywhere inside the city, outside the city. And again, being able to have total and full control of your motor vehicle at all times.
The other thing I remember is keep a cushion around you. So that means not getting too close to the car in front of you, making sure the person behind you is not sneaking up, and then making sure side to side you've got room to maneuver if you have to.
It gives you an out if you need it, left or right. It also provides you that opportunity to stop safely if all of a sudden things happen in front of you that are unexpected. And again, it's about keeping your eyes open, focused on what you need to do. Right now in the city, there's a lot of ongoing construction projects. There's also the day-to-day projects that are taking place as a result of infrastructure repairs that are immediate, like a water main repair, those type of things. And those are all impacting our destination from point A to point B. What could have been a 10 or 15 minute drive may take 25 to 30 minutes. Give yourself extra time. We say that during periods of inclement weather. Well, you know what? We're dealing with periods of ongoing construction, and that will prepare us so that the roads that we have are good to drive on in the winter months. So let's let those workers do their job safely, because they're out there doing what they're doing for us and make our streets here in Barrie safer. But at the same time, give yourself extra time to get to your appointment. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have to become one of those aggressive drivers.
We talk about changing seasons and changing behaviors as a result of those seasons, but our behaviors probably need to change every time we get behind the wheel, because you don't know what conditions are going to be. You talked about the ponding, the pooling from the rain, and I saw it in a couple of places. Big Bay Point Road near Welland Road was one of them last week. That can happen any time of year. Leaves any time of year. The conditions can change so radically from 1 minute to the next. So driving behaviors have to adjust on a continual basis.
It does. And I think, we have the ability to utilize technology. A lot of people who have different apps on their phones have the ability to look ahead and see if there's traffic delays, if there's a road closure, anything like that. If you have such a device, take a few minutes before you leave your house. Give yourself that opportunity to kind of see the route that you're planning on taking. If there are any distractions along the way that may impede you from getting to where you need to go without having to slow down for construction or a motor vehicle collision or even a complete road closure.
Key there, the word before you leave, not while you're driving.
No, you need to keep your attention on the road. That's where it needs to be.
A lot of different things that can be happening. Do you know off the top of your head what the biggest cause of collisions in Barrie is?
Well, I think, we're certainly still seeing people utilizing intersections inappropriately. And, when you are stopped to make a turn at an intersection, you need to be able to complete that turn in full and proper safety. People are getting themselves caught in intersections, and then it's causing a traffic jam. They're panicking. If you come up to a stale green light and you're planning to turn left or right, stay behind that white line. If all of a sudden the route clears and it's still a green light and you can go, then it's safe to go. You've made that determination, do so. But if you're not stuck in the middle of the intersection, you're not going to be one of these hazards that people now feel they have to maneuver around. And unfortunately, some of our drivers here in the city, we've certainly seen them. They're auditioning for the Indy 500. As soon as that light goes green, their foot is on the gas and they're moving. And if they have to go around you, they will. that could also result in a collision because you have to clear that intersection.
Peter Leon, Barrie Police, always good to have you in. Thanks for the advice. I suspect we'll be talking to you about this kind of thing in the coming weeks and months.
I suspect so. And to the good people of the city of Barrie, please take the time. Drive safe. Let's make sure we can all get to where we're going. And most importantly, let's remember, road safety is a shared responsibility there. Now I've said it twice. Let's respect other people that are using the roads with us, and let's make sure that everyone gets to where they need to go.
Lights, camera, action. The Barrie Film Festival begins October 13th, the 26th Barrie Film Festival. Barrie 360's Ian Maclennan gets a behind-the-scenes look and runs down the playbill with Festival Director Claudine Benoit.
Give us a brief history of its roots.
Well, it like many organizations, it starts with passion, and it started with a small group of people that just loved movies and wanted to bring different films to Barrie. And it started as a small project at the Maclennan Arts Centre, and then eventually grew to what it is today as an independent, not-for-profit.
Are there specific themes around the festival, or is it a whole genre of different types of movies?
I would say it's all different types of movies, everything from documentary to features, and all different genres. So it's definitely something for everyone. It's October 13th to the 22nd at Galaxy Cinemas in the south end of Barrie.
And how are the films selected? And you did mention earlier to me that some of the films that were screened at the Toronto International Film Festival have found their way, or will find their way north.
Yes, so we have a programming committee, and of course composed of film lovers, and we attend as many things as we can. We also have great relationships with Canadian distributors, so we watch a lot of movies.
And the International Short Film Festival, kind of a secondary where there's a lot of public engagement because they have an opportunity to vote on the best films, and I guess they're local, national, and international. Tell us a bit about that.
So the short film competition has been around for, it's got to be close to 20 years or more. And it's a wonderful program because we get to see the work of a lot of emerging filmmakers, and all in one night you'll get a chance to see films from high school to regional to international all in one night, and a lot of filmmakers attend. And it's a high energy screening. Everybody is excited to see their movies on the big screen and see them together. And we also have a filmmakers party where we present the awards. And people get to choose their favorite film that night too. So you get to be part of that.
And is there an award presentation that evening too, is there?
Yes. So that'll be at the Canadian Brew House. We're hoping for the rooftop if the weather cooperates. But yes, the awards will be right after the screening at the Galaxy. We go over to the venue and talk.
Now, I was looking through the list of films, and one that stood out just because I guess it brought the kid back in me and down memory lane. Mr. Dress Up, The Magic of Make Believe. Tell us a bit about that.
So that's a lovely film. We had the opportunity, myself and a couple of people in my committee, had the opportunity to see it at TIFF, and just to see a childhood. I guess hero in a way, was great for us. It connected with everyone that saw it, and you learned a lot about him, but also that he was the way he was on the show.
Much like we had the Mr. Rogers film a few years ago. Well, now here's the Canadian content, the Canadian version, our Mr. Rogers.
Yes, and they were connected. They were good friends, and actually, he was instrumental in getting Ernie to come.
Now, one film, Unloved, Huronia's Forgotten Children, right in our backyard. I imagine a very hard-hitting film, a documentary, and of course this focuses on the Huronia Regional Center. And the director, the writer of this, touches on her half-brothers, Alfie and Louis, who were institutionalized there in the 1950s. Have you seen the film? And
I haven't seen it yet, but people on my programming committee saw it, and they said we must show this film. And so we're excited that the director, Barrie Cohen, is coming to Barrie, and also some of the survivors are going to come.
And there's a couple of films we talked before we started rolling here. A lot of healing, stolen memories, and the nature of healing. Let's touch on stolen memories.
Yes, so we're very excited to. That's for our director's brunch, which will be at Liberty North on October 22nd, and we're going to feature. He's Vancouver-based director, and had a good connection with somebody who coordinates that program, and so we were really excited that he can come and talk about the film. Very challenging story matter, but it's done as like a detective story. Where we look into some objects that were found at a garage sale, and talks about the Japanese internment.
And the nature of healing, and of course, timely too, is the focus on residential schools.
Exactly. Powerful film. Very honored to have not only the director, Faith Howe, who is a local person. This is her first feature documentary. She also entered our shorts many years ago and won awards. So it's nice to bring her back home and feature her film. But also she has invited 4 to 5 of the elders that have survived the Mohawk Institute, and they'll be here to talk about the film and their experiences.
And if you like music, and who doesn't, Drop the Needle institution in Toronto opened up a lot of doors in terms of the different types of music. Just a bit of background on, I mean, if you love music, you're going to love this film.
For sure, and it's the 50th anniversary of hip-hop.
Yep.
And so we were approached by a local group to show this film, and they're going to be showing their music video called Community as part of the screening, so that's really fun. They're called the School'em Crew. Drop the Needle, yes, set in Toronto, a very important record store that affected the hip-hop movement here in
Played
Canada.
A record, I guess.
Pardon me?
Played a record?
Play the record.
Record, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's the subject of the film is going to be here, and also the director, so
nice.
It should be fabulous.
And there's going to be pop-up parties, too. What's that about? That's
really about having a party in an unexpected space. And we love bringing people to places that they don't expect for parties. So we'll bringing in the food and the music, and it'll be near the cinema, and it'll be just something you'll talk about.
26 years. Is it challenging to meet expectations? Do you feel challenged by that sometimes? And not in a negative way, but you want to keep growing this festival, and how do you?
Well, the festival's really focused on the films. So, I feel that we constantly have to be looking for the content, because that's the stuff that people are coming to see, and that's what they want to talk about, and it brings in a lot of interesting guests. And so it's all about the experience. And coming out of the pandemic, it's wonderful to be able to bring some stuff back in person. But yeah, it is a challenge to always be thinking, should things be bigger and better, and when to keep them the same, to make sure that people get what they expect.
From what I've heard and what I've seen myself, I think you get 5 stars even on Rotten Tomatoes with the work that your board and everybody does. It's a very community focused.
Thank you very much for saying that. That means a lot.
And if people want more information about the festival website, and they can find out more about the films?
So they can find everything on the website, barriefilmfestival.ca. And it's the most accessible festival. Tickets $10 for a film. So yeah, something for everybody. And hope to see people out.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. We've covered a lot of ground since we began last summer, spoke recently with provincial Liberal leadership candidate Nate Erskine-Smith, got tips from the CAA on how to keep thieves from stealing your car, and heard from a local early childhood educator who's written a book designed to get kids out of the structured environment we've crammed them into and bring out their imagination and creativity. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, Jake Epstein on his play Boy Falls from the Sky, and our weekly look at the Barrie Colts season. Now this.
Our community rocks.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Our community rocks on Barrie's Rock Station. Rock 95.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. We've all had dreams and desires, seen some of them through successfully, and had some of them leaving us feeling embarrassed or inferior. Actor Jake Epstein has had his fair share as his career has taken him from Degrassi to Broadway to Suits and more. He takes another chance, revisiting it all in his play Boy Falls from the Sky, coming to 5 Points Theatre. He gives us a sneak peek through Barrie 360's MJ.
You are going to be coming to Barrie as part of the Talk is Free Theatre with your show. And but this is not a new show for you. It started running in Toronto not too long, about a year or two ago.
That's right. I did the show as part of the Mirvish season at the Royal Alex Theatre about a year ago. And that was after doing it at the Toronto Fringe Festival. Mirvish saw it, invited me to be part of their season, and now, a year later, I've been invited to get to perform it in some theaters around the country, so I'm very excited. So with this show, Boy Falls from Sky, it's sort of like your journey in the world of theater and how really grueling it can actually be. I mean, people know that television can be hard, but theater, it's a different beast altogether. Well, my show is really about life, dealing with life's disappointments. I grew up with this very singular dream of being a Broadway performer. My parents would take my sister and I to New York City every summer. That was our family vacation. We would see a Broadway show. I fell in love with performing in Broadway, and that was my goal my whole life. And my show is about me going after my childhood dream. And like you said, the realities of show business, which is that it's grueling. And the show kind of asks the question, what do you do when your dreams don't turn out the way you want them to? What do you do when life is disappointing? And how do you move on from there? And that was sort of the question that spurred me on to write the show. Not to give anything away, but what were sort of the, I guess, the disappointments that you experienced to lead to this show? Yeah. What were some of like the big ones? Some of the things I've dealt with in my career have been things like horrible stage fright and dealing with bad reviews, having to take steroid shots, getting badly injured, getting booed on stage, embarrassing myself in front of my heroes. But one of the joys of doing and creating this show is that I took these moments that I never wanted to talk about with anyone because I was, there was there was maybe some shame, and I wanted to protect the image I feel like I had of this sort of local Canadian boy who went to New York and made good. But I got to turn those disappointments into moments of comedy and entertainment. And that's sort of what I set out to do in the show, was to take these things in my life that I found really disappointing and turn them on their head and create like a stand-up comedy musical show. And not only has it been super fun and joyful to do, but it's really been healing for me to get to perform it and retell these stories in this way. Yeah, that's actually what I was going to ask you. Like, was it therapeutic, after you have like a bit of a setback? I don't even know if you want to call it that, because everything leads us to somewhere, but to have this sort of disappointment and then to get through it was sort of therapeutic? I was always taught as a young performer that theater should never be therapy for you as an actor, but certainly in this show, it's a totally cathartic experience. I mean, when I first wrote the show and I performed it at the Toronto Fringe Festival, and this was just before COVID, I'd never told these stories to my family or some of my closest friends, and it was really scary. But it was so relieving because the stories I discovered were not only really funny, but everyone I knew had their own stories of like disappointment that they wanted to share with me right after. And it was this really beautiful, like unifying experience that part of life is dealing with disappointments and success isn't linear. And it's just so relieving to laugh at the absurdity of life sometimes. Mm-hmm. And again, that's just what's made this show one of the highlights of my life to get to do.
For those who aren't familiar, you were Spider-Man. You were Spider-Man on Spider-Man on Broadway.
I was Spider-Man, yes.
Yeah, and I remember when, this show was announced, and then, but every week it felt like I was reading about a new accident that was happening. And so that, it was a huge challenge to do Turn Off the Dark.
The sort of horrible stories of people getting injured actually happened before I joined the cast.
Ooh, dodged a bullet. Okay.
Yes. That being said, I got badly injured doing Spider-Man. And, without going into it, because I want people to see my show, but, one of the absurdities of doing that show, and it was my Broadway debut, it was a dream of mine to get to be on Broadway, and I was suddenly starring in this, $40 million show. And, I was literally on stage wearing like the Spider-Man, spandex, but underneath my costume, I was like totally bandaged up, like my ankles and my wrist. And I was taking probably too much Advil, and the sort of irony that underneath this image of Spider-Man, I was really hurt.
Wow. That is crazy. And
crazy.
And how did your family feel like you had a really good run when you were on Degrassi and you decided to sort of just like, I'm going now, bye-bye, I'm going to Broadway and I'm going to see how this works out. How did your family react to that?
My family's, I really feel like I won the family lottery or something. My parents have been my biggest supporters my whole life. They didn't, I think one of the reasons that actually myself and my sister are both actors, her name is Gabby Epstein. She's performed in Barrie as well.
Awesome.
I think one of the reasons that we're both actors and still acting is because my parents never pushed us to do it and gave us every opportunity to stop. And when we were excited and wanting to dream about being actors, my parents, were our chauffeurs and our shoulders to cry on when things didn't work out. And we're at every single opening night. So yeah, I think, I know how lucky I am that my parents supported me through, a decision to leave Degrassi, to move to New York. And I think they'll be at, they'll definitely be at opening night in Barrie, probably several shows in Barrie is my guess. And it's really heartwarming, that they want to keep coming to see this show in particular. It's really awesome.
So Boy Falls from Sky, why that title?
Boy Falls from the Sky, it's a title that I love because it has a bunch of meanings. It's the climactic song that I sang in Spider-Man, the musical on Broadway. And in the song, it sort of refers to the Icarus myth of, Icarus flying too close to the sun and then melting his wings and falling. It's sort of like a Spider-Man metaphor for he's in peril. But it sort of it takes on two meanings because, firstly, many people got injured and fell from the sky, literally doing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And
sorry, it's bad to laugh. It's kind of funny.
It's a perfect metaphor for what the show is about, which is dealing with life's disappointments, the idea of falling from the sky. To me, it was a perfect title for this show.
Boy Falls from the Sky opens tonight, October 12th, and runs through October 20th at 5 Points Theatre, brought to you through Talk is Free Theatre. Just a single game for the Barrie Colts last weekend, but still lots to talk about. Colts broadcaster and writer Gene Pereira checks in for his weekly chat with Will Konken.
Only one game for the Colts this past week. They got the overtime win against the Ice Dogs, 7-6. Jacob Frasca with the winner. Gene, maybe talk about his performance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jacob coming back from Toronto Maple Leafs camp's a big part of the Colts offense this year, and he's came through, and really him, Bo Jelsma, they had big games, the veterans, as well as Ronak Jodwin, who had 2 goals, but Frasca pots the overtime winner fairly quickly in the first minute, and really was a bit of a disappointing finish for the, obviously they saved the finish, but, they had a 6-3 lead kind of in control, and then Niagara came and tied it in the third period. Marty Williamson wasn't too happy with the effort, but, he says, you look at the big picture, they're 3-1, but certainly they could have been much better against Niagara.
Yeah, are you concerned at all about them allowing those 4 goals?
It's always something. It's early in the year, and I think a lot of these, you tend to sometimes, especially with younger players, you read a bit, you look at a team like Niagara that's rebuilding, you think, okay, maybe we got them. They're going to take the foot off the pedal here, and in OHL hockey, you can't do that because over the years you've seen lots of big leads evaporate really quickly, and it doesn't matter what team you're facing. And Niagara kind of proved that. Credit to the young team. I mean, they're a lot different than the Niagara team that we saw last year. There's just much more determination and grit on this Niagara team. I think they're much more talented. And, it's a bit of an early lesson here for the Colts that, the old cliche that hockey is a 60-minute game, they found that, unfortunately, Frasca pulled it out in overtime for them.
Some cool news as well kind of going on. 18 Barrie Colts alumni were on their NHL club's opening night rosters. Maybe touch on that as well.
Yeah, well, it's always something great to see. I mean, obviously, this is what these kids are working towards. And, you get to see them when they come as just young players and, so much room for development in their game. And, they get to take it up to the NHL level, which is, obviously a dream come true. And, the Aaron Ekblads, the Mark Scheifele's, the Kevin LeBancs, and, just notably as well, I mean, lots of players, Mackenzie Blackwood. I mean, it really speaks to the volumes as well of the Colts organization in developing these young guys and helping to get them to the next level. You look at the NHL and all the former Colts that are playing there, it speaks to volumes, from the coaches in the past, from Dale Howardchuk, Marty Williamson currently, and, the development as well. But of note as well, Will, was, Mark Scheifele signing a new contract, and, you got to be happy for him. Him and Connor Hellebuck, the 2 teammates, Winnipeg teammates, not sure if they were going to get a deal done, and to get it, I talked to Mark in the past. He's really enjoyed his time in Winnipeg, and he's grown with the city, and it's something we heard from Dale Howard, but that it really sticks to you after you've been there for a while. And I think it's happened to Mark Scheifele as well, but it's great to see him kind of take that off the table, not have to be concerned about that, and just to focus on hockey.
Well, next up for the Colts, they're on the road in Kitchener, a bit spooky. That's Friday the 13th. Then they host Guelph on Saturday. Looking forward to the games and the write-ups. Thanks again, Gene.
Thanks, Will.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, MJ, and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical prowess, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com. Some of you can still access our Facebook page, and on our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.